you all done your reorganization?
I'll call it to order, and then we'll move to that.
Hello?
Well,
Did
hey,
you hear me?
it's not on the. I didn't know if you guys
Here.
your reorganization stuff, like president. And,
No, we do
That's
have to
part
do
of it.
election of officers.
okay. Is that on the agenda?
Well, what
I
they're
just
asking
I
is
wasn't
if we
paying
could do
attention.
state opening first to get that.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting together for the January Redevelopment Commission. Call the roll. Derek Cox.
Here.
Kevin Campbell. Here. Bill Norwold here. Beth Anneking.
Here.
Welcome. Mayor Eargang.
Here.
Brad Marcy.
Here.
Sarah Lamping.
Here.
Jeremy Raver.
Here.
Attorney Blaine Timonera.
Here.
Carrie Riley.
Here.
And note that we have members of the community here in attendance for the.
Is your mic on?
Yes. Lights on.
Lights on, mic's on.
Kind of. Maybe if you could speak up a little bit, that would be great.
Okay. I'll use my study hall voice or my lunchroom voice.
Your detention voice.
Okay, I'd like to move up in the agenda the opening of the retention pond bids. And with your patience, I will open them and John will record them. We will check them later to make sure that all of the documents required are there. At this time, I'll read the amounts. The base amount, and I've not looked at the specifics of this to know whether there are any alternates on there. If there are, I'll read those. Hearing there are no alternates, so. This bid is from HWC Engineering.
They did.
Gunner, you think?
See where their actual figures are at. Damn. They're not in there, that's their figure. That's it. Okay. They offer a base bid of $531,519. 531,519.
Aaron Gunter.
Aaron Gunner. About the same thing.
This is David O'Mara. Base bid total, $852,243. 852,243. Johanneman? They have a base bid of $741,811, 741,811. This is licensing, $423,322, 423,322, licensing. This is Holman, 459,336.50, $459,336.50, Holman.
Year-wise, I guess.
This is PAF Construction. Base bid, $682,650, 682,650. This is from, is it Selhorst? Am I pronouncing it correctly? $808,700, 808,700. Stegel? $527,527.52. 527.52. Would like to inform everybody in the that has submitted a bid. I'd like to show their appreciation for supplying them, and the city officials will be reviewing them and making a recommendation to this board as to how to proceed. So at this time, if there are no questions, this bid opening is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
This is for out at the industrial park. The new.
Okay. On my agenda here now. Oh, there we go. The first order of business is to election of officers for 2026. We have 3 positions, as I understand it: president, vice president, and secretary or treasurer? Which secretary? Secretary. So I'll take nominations from the floor for the president.
I'd like to nominate Bill Narwold.
I'll second.
Any other, it's been moved and seconded. Any other recommendations?
Anyone?
Big competition here. All in favor of Narwhal serving another term of president signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Vice president. Any recommendations for the vice president position?
Make a motion for Kevin Campbell as vice president.
I'll second that.
Any other recommendations? All in favor of Kevin Campbell signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And now the very important position of secretary.
I'll nominate Derek Fox, secretary.
I will second that. Any other recommendations for secretary? All in favor of Derek for secretary, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I thank everybody for their willingness to serve another 12 months.
Easiest job gets carried.
I just got to
Yeah.
sign every now and again.
Why don't we just appoint Kerry?
He wouldn't have known that if you didn't say anything. I already had him ready to take notes. Thanks a lot, Blaine.
Kind of
You
like
just ruined
ARA.
all my entertainment
I'm
for
the
tonight.
secretary of ARA. You know how good of notes I take. So.
Now, when we do the budget, make sure you vote to pay.
Okay. The minutes for the December 17th meeting were provided ahead of time. When you feel someone feels comfortable making a recommendation to approve them, I'll take it.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion, amendments, corrections? All in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have minutes. Okay, other unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move on to financial report and claims. Brad, this is your half hour to explain the in-depth.
Half hour. Took Paul 3 minutes.
Yeah, so you should see a report in there that was provided for the balance at the end of the year. Yeah, if you guys have any more detailed questions, we can go over it, or come see me in my office.
I don't believe there were any claims, were there?
I didn't.
You didn't see any, okay.
No claims for this. The payment for the rest area has not been made yet.
An invoice is
I don't know if you can hear me or not, but yet I just received an email today saying that documents have been signed and the invoice is being prepared. Look out for an email in their billing. So as soon as I get that, I got that today at 1 o'clock, but I was in a meeting. So
And-
once I receive that, I will notify the
And how about the invoice for the Baxter improvements?
that has the check has been cut, and I will be giving that to them tomorrow. So that will be off of the budget during the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Brad? Thank you, Brad.
Happy to help.
Yeah. Industrial Park Retention Pond bid opening. I think I was pleased. Hopefully they're responsible.
We can review them. I was,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the only reason you can deny them is if it's an incomplete submission.
Unless they have a bad reputation, which I'm not seeing that out of the ones I knew that were low.
Right.
They're local.
I was a bit surprised at the volume of bids we got.
Yeah, I thought that.
I am
Awesome. That's awesome.
That's really good.
There must not be a lot of holes to dig.
Yeah.
I think it's more they want to get it now because they don't know how much money we're going to have going forward.
Well, is there a timeline on getting this approved? Are we in any kind of hurry, or can this come back for final approval at the next meeting?
When is this project supposed to start and be completed by?
Was there a completion date?
Well, I don't know if I want them to.
That's why it's trying to prove the next meeting, because it's just not construction season yet.
Because I've been involved before where it was time sensitive and the board gave permission for the city to go ahead with, if they found the bidder to be, the lowest bidder to be responsible, to go ahead and have permission to award it. Do you see that 30 days being an advantage there, John?
No, because nothing's going to stop in the next 12 days.
Okay.
We might still have snow on the ground.
From a budgetary standpoint, it might be better if they wait.
Yeah, we got to go through all the Eddie stuff and everything anyway, so that's.
Yeah.
We're going to have that process to go through submitting invoices, submit invoices through.
The low bid was 432,
423.
say it again?
423, 332, or 322.
And that was Lysing?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3, our perpetual item.
Not anymore. I'm going to get some answers today. So I believe Sarah had sent out information regarding the updated figures from Baker Tilly as far as cash out for RDC, things of that nature, and then the 20-year bond. They did send a 10-year bond option. I can forward that to you all so you can have that. I can so the options provided by estimates from Matt with the hard numbers more or less come out to a $1.98 million cash amount. The interest from that and that lump sum being placed in escrow will presumably cover our obligations under the current bond and be satisfied in 2030 for the payoff. I think it's so there will be some attrition of that escrow balance at the same time that interest is being satisfied. The 20-year bond note, which presumed a $1.6 million cash injection, the bond face amount would be $765,000. The annual obligation on that on a 20-year note would be $85,000 a year at an interest of 6.76%. The total interest cost on that bond over the 20-year period is $418,630, give or take. So when you total the total amount of the cash plus the bond cost and the total amount of the bond, the total cash figure on the 20-year estimate, like at the end of the life, $2.783 million. Our current arrangement, just for reference, that as of 2026, will be $2,040,000 outstanding, annual obligation of about $141,000 till 2030. $141,000 till 2030. Then after 2030, those jump up because we have an interest rate jump to $195,000. Interest rates at 3%. The total cost remaining on that loan or on that bond is $515,000, $550. So there's some change hangover there. So total cost of that between the cost of the loan plus the outstanding bond amount is $2.636 million. So the difference between those to go with the bond amount is about $100,000, $120,000 of additional cash to refinance that on a 15-year bond. The 10-year bond option came back. The bond would have to be $780,000. I don't know why there's a variance there between 765 and 780. Still the $1.6 million in cash. Interest rates is stagnant. The total annual payment is $107,000 average. It varies between $104,000 up to $109,000. So about $107,000 is that payment amount. The total interest cost on that loan on the 10-year would be $294,000. So when you take your bond amount, cash amount, and the cost of the loan, the total amount of cash to satisfy that 10-year loan would be $2,674,000 and change on the back. So difference between your 10-year bond and your current state is about $30,000 extra cost to do a 10-year relative to the situation you're in now, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. I think the increase is just the increase in debt payment that you got to set aside for make the bond people happy.
So if you go the full cash out, obviously your cash out of pocket's $1.98 million. If you go bond routes, between difference in cost between the bonds, the variable between the bonds that we have been proposed or offered versus the bonds we currently have is a difference of between $30,000 and $120,000 in total cost of your current situation. So by doing the cash option, in theory, over the long run, you save the city about $700,000.
Well, that's just in straight up cost. That doesn't include the interest expense carrying it forward.
Sure.
And
I guess I'm sorry. I'm going to jump in front of you, Bill. I guess I've got two questions. On looking at Brad's budget for 2026,
Yep.
If we do this and we write a check for the whole thing, my understanding is the $175,000 bond payment that's due will come out of that $1.9 million, so we won't have that obligation. Correct?
The 170. Ask your question. Sorry.
The industrial bond, the industrial park land bond
Yep.
for 175, we won't owe that this year, correct?
That would be my understanding.
Okay. And then we wouldn't have the built-in what we thought the new shell building bond payments would be.
Correct.
Correct?
That's my understanding.
So I'm going to make a motion already to write them a check and make this go away.
clarification on that, isn't the timing of this in June? So we would be making half of those payments? I mean, we're talking about $170,000. I realize that, and it comes out in the wash, but
Yeah, your first payment every year is smaller. Your December payment is your bigger, because your first payment your first payment on this bond is an interest payment.
that comes in the first half of the year.
Thanks.
So that would take part of, but a smaller part of that.
See what that obligation is.
You're talking about 150 and 170, so that 320, it would take a small part of that 320 away from the math that you had proposed, right?
I think it's I think that's right.
But that would be offset by the fact that we would have the spring draw of revenue
Right.
to help us with cash flow. So and that's
Spring
going to,
draw is June.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if I'm hearing you correctly, if we can postpone doing that until closer to June, the better off we'll be.
I'm saying that when I looked at the documents, I thought it was scheduled to happen in June after that statement, because there's a payment showing up on the
You think we're
spreadsheet.
still going to have to make that payment too?
I think this is
That's not built in.
calculated with that payment in mind.
That we make
Is it
that
not,
separate
Sarah?
from this?
I'm not, I would defer that to Blaine.
I don't have it in front of me to look at. so-
I mean, we're not talking that much. It's not a deal breaker for me at all, but I thought I saw that on one of the
Yeah.
spreadsheets.
I think we can get clarification.
And
on
I
that.
don't want to miss it. Your obligation, that first payment, regardless, for June 1st of 2026.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
Yeah.
and
I don't think that stops us from doing.
No. It
Even-
doesn't. No,
Even if we can, what's the politically correct way to say this? Put this on the back burner for some reason between now and get as close to June to get this settled as possible?
I don't think we have to wait till June, but if there were those that are concerned with cash flow, I'm not, because I think that there's other things that are going to be on the back burner till after June.
your year-end balance for 25 was 2.39 million.
Yeah.
And our budget, if we fund everything, including those two payments that you were talking about in full, which we're not going to have to do, we still have a large amount of discretionary funds available to us. So, you ready to make a motion?
What
You made a motion? I will second.
I am willing to sit back and not do a lot from this group to make this go away and not spend another $765,000 on a bond,
Okay, I
plus
have
the interest expense
I
to
have a
do
couple
that.
questions, though.
That's fine.
Let's make an assumption that this is what we're doing. How quickly does all the real estate work occur?
so all we're doing.
That we can make these available for,
Yeah, I think, I don't have an direct answer to that, right? But I think all that we would do is it would be some kind of reporting in the real property records that basically eliminates any potential cloud on, like a release of mortgage, right? Something to that effect. That would be my assumption. Now, it's probably more of a question for Heather James, and she may have advice on that, as far as what needs to go through. The other assumption is as I understand it, is, again, Heather has seemed to indicate that when we take this figure to the trustee, as long as the numbers work, that they'll say yes. I haven't done this that long, but I know that seems to, there's still a lot of potential for somebody to say no, right, in there. And so, again, assuming that this cash flow goes through, and they're satiated. So, to answer your question, I don't know timing on that. To me, you all can make it's your decision as to when you fund this, but I would just say get the damn thing done, so that way we don't have to worry about any.
I mean, it might get close to June just from a timing issue regardless.
There's always that potential, right?
And if it gets
I mean, at one
done,
point, we were gonna try to do
if
this
I'm
before the end
wrong,
of the year.
if it's done before June, then that money goes back onto the table for us, that we haven't made that payment, so it's a wash on it. Anyway, so,
Brad, is it your understanding from an expense standpoint, this $400,000 is going to be left? Is that sufficient enough to cover amounts until June, any obligations that come up until June. But you got 2.391 at the end of 25. If they write a check for 198, be about 400,000 left, as I understand it. Is that amount going to be sufficient to cover any obligations in the first 6 months of this year? I mean, now in June when we get that first, that
You're gonna spend 200, you're gonna spend 140 of it, 142 of it tomorrow. You got another 90 in a couple weeks, so there's 230. The downtown development match for the grant for the Main Street hasn't even we haven't got approved or for that to come through yet, so I wouldn't see that happening before June. Then we've got the Thrive payment that puts you at what, 256? Financial services, which all that won't be due by June, but call it 276, and then ARA for another $5,000, call that 280. So I'd say you've got at least $100,000 cushion.
Well,
in addition to your
Discretionary.
because there's a $200,000 cushion in addition to that.
Right.
In addition to the
2.3, so-
discretionary.
Right.
I have a couple of questions, and any soft cost, I know that this arrangement, any soft cost was supposed to come out of the sale of the bond. If we don't sell the bonds,
As I understand it, Baxter will have been satisfied. They've gotten the payment last
It's
year.
not Baxter,
Or
it's
not Baxter,
Stratify
so
Holdings.
Baker Tilly. Well, Baker Tilly got paid their.
because I wouldn't want any surprises on that end.
I don't know what Heather James, if there's a cost from Ice Miller for their advisement through this process or not. I can connect with her and ask to confirm that. But Baker Tilly, as far as I know, has been paid. I don't know if Ice Miller ran this on a contingency fee basis type.
I mean,
Sure, if there's a bond, then we get paid. If not, then we don't.
I mean, it's not enough of a reason to stop it, but it would be nice to know up
That bill won't
front.
be $700,000.
No. And then the other question, which may or may not relate to this, but it could relate to cash flow. There's $1.6 million of that READY grant that's set aside for improvements out there on the road and the pond that we're going to be using 400 and some thousand of it. What happens to that other 1,100 and some thousand?
We're not using any of that. It's getting funded. Any projects being funded.
Right. So where does that money go? Because my understanding was that 1,600 that'd be,
Well,
or
that's gonna
1.6.
go toward our payoff on, yeah.
Paid for under ready.
Except for some minor soft
There
costs
were
that
some
we've already
there
paid
were-
for.
There were some engineering costs. But
Like
they
if you look on the 25 budget,
Yeah.
it shows that there's only 1.4 million, 1.416 of the 1.6 left.
So that 2 point some million includes that amount?
That we're paying the bond with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it includes that amount.
It includes that.
Okay.
Do we have a trustee already lined up for this, or that's the next step?
That's something that will be facilitated through Ice Miller, Baker Tilly working. So the bondholders have a trustee that represents all the bondholders. So that trustee will coordinate with Ice Miller or Baker Tilly to acknowledge that
This will sign us.
to establish that.
I thought Bank of New York was involved in that somewhere. Did I read that right?
I think they're the ultimate bondholders, but I think there's a trustee that is between the bank and, don't quote me on that exact structure, but I know that there's a singular point of contact for all of our bonds that Sarah James, or Heather James has to communicate with directly. They represent their interests on their behalf, so.
Okay, we've had a motion, it's been seconded to move forward with the full payment of the bond with available funds. Any other discussion?
So just for clarification, and I'm pretty much with this, but we're basically saving on a 20-year bond it's $700+ in interest, and on a 10-year bond it's 2.5, something like that. Or
Point, 2 point, it was
294,000 in
Yeah,
interest, I
that's what I
think.
meant.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
so essentially by paying this off, we leave us with a cushion of about 150,000-ish between now and June. Is that my correct math? Is that what you guys got-ish kind of thing? I don't think that we're gonna see anything that's gonna be, I mean, I've been on this for a long time. I don't know of anything in the pipeline that would come out and be pushed off until a June kind of thing either. So with that, I just wanted to make sure that was my mentality.
I think you actually come out kind of smelling like roses on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, saving 700 grand in theory.
Looking at proposed projects that might, where there might be a redevelopment commission request for funding. We've got the downtown vision plan implementation, but we don't quite know what that's going to be. The rest area, if we intend to do any sort of redevelopment to the rest area once it's purchased.
I think that's something that we just don't do. I mean,
Yeah. And then, we'll have to move forward on appraising the industrial port properties upon the idea of a prospect. We don't do them all at once, and we'll do the marketing, where we have worked with a land real estate contractor. And, if any requests come from new projects through the AP building, the training center, or the Sherman House, or anything like that for an incentive, those are the only things that I see in the pipeline.
And those are all things that if we do want to fund them, we're going to have money in the second half of '26. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're gonna want TIF financing, you're looking at possibly doing a TIF bond for that project anyways.
Yeah, and, in another few months, we're going to be looking for projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And we're going to be in a position to fund them. And this allows us to move forward with deposition or disposal of that property out there, or sale of the property.
And
Okay.
I have kept track of some potential future projects, so.
will you have any cost on assuming the public hearing goes fine and city council conveys it to that property, is there cost anticipated with the properties out there on the Lamberth Pike,
It would only be the appraisals at this point in time,
but nothing significant,
not that,
nothing relative, hundreds of thousands of dollars type
oh,
stuff?
no.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Awesome. Woohoo!
Anybody got a drink?
Yeah.
well, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the bondholders will
Yeah, this goes as,
It's not,
accept it.
this goes as smooth as.
Oh, be optimistic.
Thank you.
You're not ready to party?
So from here, I will email
Tomorrow. Okay. I can get the K-gun froze.
where to send the check, more or less.
Yeah.
And I guess when we have that conversation.
Blaine will only take good news from now on this issue, so.
One hell of a project that we're missing out on to not. I don't see it
It means
going up in the next.
we hope.
I don't either.
Okay, number 4, proposed use of the vacant rest area.
I would defer this to the mayor. Back early on, when we had the discussion about the rest area, there were potential ideas thrown around on how it could be repurposed. And one included the idea of a training center tower, so to speak, for the use of fire and police. Mayor, do you have anything to add?
I know that was something that the fire department, police department had been looking at for years for that space, kind of to use that as a regional training center. At one point, there was pretty substantial amount of state, I think, and federal grant money available for those. I don't know if it still exists. I know Brian is looking into it. I guess my question, would there be if they can find some funds to do that, would there be any objection here to allowing them to utilize it?
I guess my question would be, does the city own or have access to any land on the other side of the railroad tracks that we could do a project like that? And the reason I ask is we've already got issues with the train running through town and getting fire trucks and stuff and rescue vehicles over there. If we had property on the other side of the tracks that we could do this and potentially store
Make it a station.
a small station
Yeah.
or a small substation, I guess, to me makes more sense than,
/ training center.
right, as opposed to putting it out in the back of the industrial park that's as far away from downtown as you can get.
We don't have any property that I know of on the south side of,
Unless you go out by
unless you go out by the reservoir.
Hole and Kramer, right?
But
Plex, reservoirs.
Well, I think the city owns some land on the other side of Coon Hunter's Lake, does it not? But that's pretty far out there.
But I think isn't it mostly just border property? It's not, we don't have like big parcels as far as I know.
Well,
Move the street department out.
my concerns with it is we really don't have a clear vision of what's going to happen at the industrial park right now. And it doesn't really seem like a good location for that. I don't know if that's going to be suitable with other residents that we might have out there, or whether it might be a great thing. But at this time, it's not something that I would be interested in saying, yeah, it's yours.
Again, I mean, it's something that we could take back too. I mean, they got the money to do it. I don't.
Good chance of being able to take it back. They're slim to none.
It'd still be our property. We'd just be letting them build something on it. So I'm not asking us to give the property. We would still hold the property, but I'm asking about the possibility of letting them utilize the property until we have something in place to do with it.
So intermediate, right? Basically
Yeah.
There until we find some other person or
Yeah.
position potentially.
Yeah. Well, I'm not asking us to give the property to the fire department. Yeah, use of the space. And honestly, it'd be contingent upon them. I told Brian, I said, you guys are gonna have to come up with the money.
Property accessible as it sits today, or does it have to go through the industrial park to get to it, or like what are we thinking would be even be access to that property?
There's an access drive.
It's a gravel road, but I wouldn't want to run a fire truck back and forth across.
That's probably more accurate. It's just a go
So-
path.
I don't think they're coming in now. I think the plans to do training out there. I don't think it's
Aren't they going to take a truck out there?
Sometimes.
'Cause that gravel road won't.
I'd imagine that gravel road won't support the weight of that truck. Plus, I don't know, I guess I'm assuming all the blacktop and stuff is still out there, the concrete.
That would probably be the worst part about it, because I know at one point the police wanted to use it for driving training, so that would be the downside. I mean, it's probably so beat up, they'd have to put pavement in. But
If you drove
again,
some of these country roads around here, they might ought to learn how to do that.
but again,
We got wheels.
they'd have to come up with the funding to do that. And we could, I mean, we don't have to make a decision on it today. We can talk to Brian and say, tell us what your plan is, what kind of resources you found. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay. Residential TIF.
You want me to take this?
You can take it.
Heather, you want to take
My
it?
answer is no, so, but you can take it and do the
Go
explanation.
ahead, Sarah.
We've had a request from a housing developer to establish a subdivision in an area along 129 at the request of a residential TIF. And currently, Batesville does not have any residential TIF areas in place. And the developer has requested for the city to provide them with a residential TIF before moving forward with the development of the subdivision. We've had multiple conversations with Ice Miller. We have some information on how to establish a TIF, the timeline associated with the residential TIF. But it basically comes down to, do we as a city want to open Pandora's box by beginning to offer residential TIF to developers as they come into our community and want to establish a presence? Basically, the residential TIF, to put it in layman's terms, could be seen as a very large tax abate in the long run. So right now they would have a base value of ag land, which in turn they would put a home on. Then we would capture the base value and then the increased value of the property as time goes on. Then we would get the excess proceeds as TIF dollars that we in turn would have available to the developer for him to pay a TIF bond off to create the development. Now, we've had multiple requests for residential TIF throughout our city. And, yes, they're a good size, and yes, there are negatives to it, but in perceived negatives, but in respect to this particular subdivision and keeping in mind the requests in the previous requests where we have denied, it has since surfaced again, and we bring it to the RDC to see if that's a process that we want to move forward with.
Again, I will just share with you, the other request, the only one that I'm familiar with was, obviously before I was in this position, it was Lakeshore. They had requested it and we denied it. It didn't stop that project from happening. And from a,
Do you want this?
I don't know,
Go ahead.
an outlook on it, if in my opinion, if we give an out-of-town developer this TIF and we denied it to local developers, the optics are pretty bad. And the other thing is, at this point, everybody's bitching about, beep. Everybody is complaining about affordable housing, but again,
Negatively commenting.
there's lots of comments about affordable housing, and I understand that, but I don't think this project is necessary. We don't know what the project is. I just don't think right now's the time and place for it with this particular project.
Well, for my clarification, you say we've had requests for this before. This is the first one I've ever known that came to the TIF board. So where were the requests made and who denied them?
They were made by local developers that to the previous administration. And the philosophy behind the residential TIF was, why do we have to pay developers to come to our community?
So it never came to the TIF.
No. It
Never came.
It was
was
stopped at the administration level.
stopped at the administration level.
Okay.
Simply because, yes, we are in need of housing, but are we in need of housing so badly at this time that we're willing to take this step and begin, again, setting a precedent with any other developer that comes into our community to create housing that a residential TIF is expected? And we have had, we are very grateful with the local developers that we have who've been very good to the community. And for them to request and us to deny goes to what John's point was, that you have an out-of-town organization come in and they request and we say yes. That does not bode well. And we have movement in our housing development. We have homes being sold and built, Crestview. We have activity in Lakeshore. We have infill taking place with condominiums and market rate apartments. So we are moving on addressing the housing industry.
Derek, did you?
Yeah, I was gonna, just as a devil's advocate, thinking in a different way. From a real estate perspective, I know one of the problems that we deal with all the time is a lack of developers, even though we have a lot of local ones in here. And so I'm not saying we do, because I agree with the locality and being local, but at the same time, we know we got Joyner Homes that came in. That's a group from Indianapolis, high quality homes that are going to be built around, but recruiting them in to get them to come into places is a short-term solution for a long-term problem. And so the idea of them coming in is fine, but when they start to, it's like any other place. When you get a housing development place that comes in, you're going to see a place that goes up here, and the best part of it isn't the first development, it's the fact that what happens after that is that they stick around that local area. And I'll use Joyner as an example just because I know it off the top of my head. Joyner comes in and finds 3 lots in Batesville to build a house on. Those aren't necessarily subdivision, but those 3 houses will incentivize them to do more business in Batesville, which brings more houses. And so that, I think, is one of the issues that we're dealing with right now, is that we currently have a backlog of people that would love to build, right? And then having the ability to have a multitude of developers out here is one of the complaints that we do. Why don't they build these homes here? Why don't they build these homes here? And a lot of the times, and I can't say that it's an incentive that's given. That's not what I'm saying. But there are things that have been done to draw some of those developers in. And so what I would be interested in isn't necessarily because we mentioned low income housing or what type of affordable housing. What types of homes would be built by this developer, which is a better assurance for me in understanding what they're going to build, because you get the base value of the land. They put that up there. Obviously, the value's gone in. How much are those people that are going to build that house going to spend in our community is a more important number than how much is going to be allocated to TIF and removed. So we can get $100,000 from TIF, but if those people that are living in those homes contribute $150,000 into our economy, that's a win. You know what I mean? And so understanding the type of homes, like if it was a home that you're going to say is a $200,000 home, and well, just because the economics of that, the amount of money that would cycle through back into the community would be negligent. But if you put something that's in a 350 or 400,000, there's a big range. And so the lower the house, the harder it is to turn, I would assume, on the longevity of a TIF. But if you get, and I think that's where the conundrum is, just kind of figuring out, we need developers, right? We have a big desire and demand for developers. Getting them here is, you got to turn somebody's head because there's a whole lot of communities around.
Okay, is it developers or is it just builders?
Builders. I'm sorry, using different words. Yeah, different.
Two different things.
Yeah, 2 different things. No, but they all stem from the same thing. You get the development side that comes through the real estate side, so they do coincide, right? But one's a bigger picture, the other one's just point blank. But I think they're looking for areas to come in and become a long-term presence in places that they go to, as opposed to, I'll use Joyner again, I'm going to come into Illendale and I'll build this house, and then I'm going to go back to Indianapolis. Well, there's a whole different logistics that go on in their mindset, and that's not, an advocation one way or the other, just giving you a thought from the real estate side. And I know that if you talk to any company around here, one of the things that we are lacking, right, is the ability for builders, right, to come in a mass quantity to be able to put up the housing that reaches the demand level. That's just what we hear.
Just to clarify, did you say that Joyner Homes has built how many homes?
They're in the process of building one right now. Like, they literally are just freshening it.
Okay. What incentive was
They built one over there in Lake of the Woods. I know they have one of those in there.
what incentive was given to them to build that home?
I'd have to ask on that one. I just know it's a new company that's come in, so I don't have the details on any incentive that came in from the city, none, right? And so this is a developer that, and the way they worked is they're going to build a spec house, right? They also have another one that's out there that was, they bought the package, built it on the lot. So that was their first introduction to Batesville and getting it there, and that's the first time you get eyes on it. That's the kind of build that they have. And so everything else, like I said, over here, they're dealing in Hillendale with getting approvals and everything to get there going, but they got foundations and all that kind of stuff getting laid now.
And I think that's a success story right there within itself, that Joyner came into our community. They are not building a huge subdivision with 100 homes that will impact our local utilities, our school corporation, a list of other things. Yes, they will bring a huge economic impact by shopping and spending money in our community. But I think that can still be done without offering a residential TIF.
And I don't disagree with that at all. Like, I'm up in the air on the residential TIF if it's the appropriate way to go. But the idea of an incentive package is something that is desirable from developers. And it's
Right.
not just a singular one, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that there are developer loans that are available on their end and different things like that. But keep in mind, Batesville is open for business. We are willing to talk to developers. Every situation is a bit different. So we're open for business. However, at this point in time, the need for a residential TIF it's not necessarily required for us to get the housing that we need.
I don't know if you looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I mean, I think that, as I understand the residential TIF, the whole purpose of it is to alleviate the infrastructure costs
On the development.
of the developer, right? The roads and gutters.
Yeah, the only time I've,
Water lines and all that, gas lines and all that sort of stuff is to incentivize them that, well, it's almost a city financing-esque arrangement to grease those skids. So, yeah, to your point, Derek, right? Like, the incentive for developers or builders makes sense, but this seems to be more of a grandiose scale as far as the purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that may not be the right vehicle for that type of program, to your point.
I mean, the only time I've seen it done is when the city wanted a bridge in that was going to cost the developer $1 million to put it in, and he's like, no, I just won't do the subdivision.
Yeah.
But they wanted it to connect. They wanted to connect to the backside,
That was
so they did it. Yeah, they did a TIF to build the
And that's
Some unusual infrastructure thing that's.
right.
I mean,
Developer puts all
I mean,
John, in your experience, how many homes were built in Shelbyville in the last 7 or 8 years?
I mean, after those 5 or 6 new neighborhoods going,
How many of them were TIF'd?
probably a couple of homes.
How many of them were TIF'd? Yeah, if you TIF it, the money stays in. I would rather see money go into our general fund, I know, than go into a residential TIF area, because by the time that TIF expires in 20 years, we've got maintenance obligations on that street and on the infrastructure that we're basically asking the other taxpayers to fund. And
depending on what kind of, well, what you're gonna, the other problem you're gonna have is you might open this Pandora's box anyways. Hospital, and that turns into its own residential, not commercial. That's gonna be, you're gonna have to use a residential TIF to do it, depending on how that's zoned to help support that project.
And we'll cross that.
The hospital is,
I
where
think
the
it
old
is.
hospital sits?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's
No.
also, I think it is residential.
That- I think so. Are you looking it up?
When they did the zoning.
Well, to me,
Commercials, I don't think.
I mean,
And
I'll be honest, I asked to bring this here because it sort of is redevelopment. That's why. To bring this conversation here. And that's probably why it never came here before.
And then to be fair, the economic development had a 2-hour strategy session earlier today that we are, I would say, 85–90% convinced we're gonna see about doing a housing study for Batesville to see what the next steps
well, that,
need to be.
when this issue came up, we've been bouncing this ball around, at least I have, on, we have opinions that we need more housing, we have opinions that we need to, we don't, we just, and then we have those in the middle that say, yeah, but we need certain kinds of housing. And we've talked about a housing study, and they don't always get you what you want. And I know there's a bill floating through the state right now of Indiana that that they want to require each municipality to look at their rules and regulations and permit fees and timelines and setbacks and all of that kind of stuff to say, you know, what are you doing to inhibit developers and builders from building homes that are affordable?
Well, actually, what that bill's doing is taking that away from municipalities.
Whatever, and are taking, they're restricting that to try to lower the cost to make it easier on builders. And, you know, I talked to a local builder about a year ago, and he said, I can sell homes all the time for $160,000, $180,000, but it costs me $220,000 to build it. And my money is wrapped up for so long that a lot of what I'm paying on is interest on a loan, unless I'm mega wealthy and I can fund it myself. So when we look at all of this, I don't, a study that just says, yeah, you need more housing, I don't think it's going to get it, but I think it needs to be done to say, and these are some of the things we need to do to make it affordable at all levels, whether it's low income, middle income, or upper income. What restrictions are we putting out there that really don't make any sense, that are costing them time and money? So if the economic development is going to do some kind of study, I would like it to be a comprehensive thing where we maybe get local realtors together, local builders together, banks together, and say what is the problem and what are some solutions that we can do in all areas here, to including the city, and what we can do to facilitate to helping that. So I commend economic development for wanting to look into this.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with your comments about the housing studies. I
don't think it's going to be the miracle
No,
that we're hoping it will be, but.
Correct. You know.
Guide you in decisions like this.
Right.
What's that?
It at least can guide you in decisions like this.
Yeah, I mean, if it tells us you guys are way short on housing, then yeah, we kind of need to kick it in gear and do something that spurs the development, and then.
But if it tells us but again, it tells us we're short on housing because of what? Because of all the jobs we have here that we don't have. I mean, we certainly need residents here. There's no dispute of that, I don't think. But,
well, I will put a motion on the table that at this time we table any involvement with moving ahead with development of a TIF area, and until the whole concept of housing in Batesville can be reviewed or can be studied.
one of the I know Sarah had mentioned at one time, I think there was talk about the city
And for, I don't
And that-
remember for.
Yeah.
Might have been last
It was a housing study that,
That didn't-
County. Did
Yeah.
the state say we're not going to do it now? Or I don't.
yeah, that's how it went, because the difficulty in doing a housing study is it's difficult to get down to a specific community or municipality, because what we'll need to find and what we will get is a housing study on Ripley County and a housing study on Franklin County. But what we really need is a study on 47006. That's what we need the study on. And then keep in mind, we only have X amount of property vacant that's left to begin building these subdivisions that also need additional redevelopment prior to it even becoming an option.
And I might add that any study we do obviously needs to involve the school's involvement. because
Absolutely.
This
Because of the constraints.
This will impact them, or they hear a lot of stories too about the number of transfer students that they get in. It's like, well,
400.
we can't find housing here.
Yeah,
And-
we've had such slow, steady, predictable growth, which has been fantastic. But yeah, if all of a sudden it's like we're going to
Yeah, you
goose
put
this
100
thing.
houses in a subdivision tomorrow.
Yeah, that-
And that could have happened with the one right next door to the high school that, I mean, because the builder,
Like,
Yeah.
excuse me.
there should have been a ton more houses on that deal already done and built, and whether they sold or not, it's a different story, but they would have been contractually obligated to start building and
Yeah.
selling them, and it kind of fell through.
And certainly, as you look at housing that's at those entry level price points, that's where young families and kids and that's where the influx for the school is going to come from.
And we're going to want a mix of housing. We're not going to want just all workforce housing. We're going to be looking for a mix.
Yeah, we don't need all estates on 3 or 4 or 5 acres, and we don't need all multifamily studios, and we don't need,
Yeah.
we probably need a combination of all of it.
As
Okay.
a side note, I'd like to respectfully request the RDC to consider partnering with the EDC on the cost associated with a housing study.
I'll add that to my motion. I don't think it's got a second, but my motion would be that we partner with EDC to do a comprehensive study of housing needs in Batesville. And that would include consideration for any potential TIF.
And in turn, I'm going to have to look for individuals who do or firms that do housing studies that can get me down to the 47006, because they basically only collect data at the county level. So what we might see is cumulative, but not specific to Batesville.
It'd be different if it was in not more, less isolated, I guess, area. But the distinct market difference between Batesville 47006 and 5 miles out is $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 difference just in area or zip codes, just in where you go. So I think it's a very valid point. When we do, it is absolutely vital, to your point, that we narrow it down to Batesville 47006, because Franklin County stats as a whole are going to be unbelievably lower, right, compared to what you're going to get in other parts of the counties that you're going to get to. So I'm with you, I agree.
And I think what we're experiencing and what we're seeing is the north side of I-74 is booming. I mean, that's where all the housing growth went. Now they've moved to the south side. So, and there's...
Well, and we need to think carefully about that because, we want our downtown to be congested, but do we want to continue to congest, the north side?
I think some of that's going to happen when they decided to build a hospital
Some
out
of it
there.
will happen. Some of it will happen organically, but how much effort do we want to go to complicate that issue?
But on
And
his
maybe
motion,
incentivizing them to do it on the other side of town might
And we have to keep in mind our capacity, our wastewater capacity, our sewer capacity, our water use. gas, we kind of, and, you know, our energy provider would be, I didn't look at that area, what energy provider. Yeah, they're all gonna, the ones that are not owned by the municipalities, yeah, they're gonna want it. But we have to be conscious of what our city, from a infrastructure standpoint, can manage without having to add additional cost to maintain those.
When's the last time we've had when we've had something done for wastewater or for the water plant or gas to say, here's what, we could take on another 6 homes
What's
or
your
600
capacity?
homes without having to add capacity?
I don't know that gas has a, they buy their gas on the,
Yeah.
anything to speak of.
They haven't tapped their own well yet, and we got an unlimited supply.
No, as far as wastewater, I'd have to talk to Randy and see what our capacity.
Isn't that all stuff that could come out of this study?
It just depends on where you're at. Sometimes you have a lift station deal that's at capacity, if it's over here or not, and the plant has different capacities.
Right now, we have an issue down at Morris because the line that comes from Indian Lakes is, it's full. And part of it's being caused by some issues that are happening at Indian Lakes, which they are, Randy's
they're not
working with them to get that addressed. But what's happened, because that line's full, some of our residents at Morris that are on that line, that have been on that line forever, their grinder pumps are smaller. Now they run constantly, they have to.
Yeah.
There's been a few people that approached me that said, you know, why can't my son or daughter build a house here? You know, I've got Randy working on that in engaging Indian Lakes. They talked about it last fall. They said they hope to work on it while they were closed for the season. I talked to him the first of the year and asked him to follow up. But yeah, so yeah, you do have those issues too.
And if you put it, infrastructure is not only limited to the utilities, it's also the roads. As you enter or leave those subdivisions, are they in good enough shape right out of the gate to manage that increase of 100 new homes with 2 cars and, you know, every day back and forth, extended use? But I do not, with your point, Derek, I believe the economic impact is amazing and it would be substantial for our community, but we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared and we need to know.
I'm in favor. I'll make a second, I believe, if you want to clean up that, the motion or whatever, but
Your motion was basically to table the residential tip, but also support the housing study. Was it, do you want to
Yeah, to study the whole issue of housing needs in Batesville and to
partner with.
I don't think we need to table anything with the TIF. We've never had a motion or any action on it. So if we feel like we need, the last I knew, it was Baker Tilly was going to be silent on it unless we got back with them. So if they inquire, tell them we're looking into the whole issue.
And we've got some good partners that I feel will do the best job for us to try to do that, getting it down to the specific municipality level. But, you know, maybe there's other companies out there that specialize in this. I don't know. I need to do some homework.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. Might add a thought, Sarah, that there are some areas of the Batesville School Corporation that are not in the 47006. And I do know that schools, a lot of times when they do a big bond issue, they're required to do a demographic study. And there are companies out there that do it specific to a school corporation. So yeah, maybe the grants are only available countywide, but there are people that can specify it to a certain area, and we might want to consider the entirety of the school district when we do that.
Yeah, I think I'd have to understand more what the school does. So maybe Jeremy, I'd appreciate getting some resources from you.
Is that pretty accurate?
No, no, yeah, it's well said. Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't seem like it would be that difficult to focus in on a zip code.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the data
that
I
you
work
have
with, not
to-
just at the school, but even beyond that, it's like you can go from zip code down to block level. And what we're really
Right.
talking is at that block level below zip code. And we could probably match that up pretty closely to the corporation lines.
yeah.
Okay, that's great.
And I would assume, to your point, Bill, on some of the bond work we've done, we may already have that lined out, so.
I don't think it's going to show how much housing you have or don't need. It's
No, but
not related to housing, but
shows
it's
where the
related to
population
growth
sits,
and
yeah.
prospective growth and birth rates and all of that kind of thing. Okay, other new business.
Next month, you'll have a resolution for those 2 parcels out there on Lammers Pike.
For the what?
For the 2 parcels out on Lammers Pike that the city of Batesville is conveying to RDC. I think that was previously acknowledged that RDC would accept those, but we'll have to have a formal resolution of city council. So that will come next month. Public hearing is scheduled on that.
So we need to build $1 into the budget for that?
There's no compensation. You can give it.
All we got to do is say, yeah, we take the property.
Okay.
Yeah, the holidays got in the way as far as plan was to do the public hearing at the last city council meeting. However, with the holidays and the publication of the newspapers, couldn't get it done in time.
There is also legislation at the state to do away with public notice in the newspapers. So that will potentially make advertising, like this kind of stuff, a lot easier.
They're not going to
Yeah.
change the timeframes, though, are they? They're just going to, you're not going to have to pay for the paper.
So at the same time, but you can just do it online. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you don't have to wait for a paper.
You don't have to wait.
our older population,
Count
I'm going to.
weekly papers.
Population.
Yeah.
Another
Big push.
topic that's not as involved is as I looked through the meeting dates for 2026, we have a meeting scheduled for or close to in March, with spring break being March 25th. So do we want to consider rescheduling that now? I would suggest that we do, so that I can get the holiday RDC meeting date out to you, the December RDC meeting date out to you. That has been moved because of Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I know in the past, we've struggled with not having enough, we don't have a quorum in the spring due to spring break.
Could we just postpone it and do it on the first week later? Situation we do it every month, but that puts it out of spring break week and it's the 1st of March or April.
Because we'll have one in February, 1, 2, 3, 4, on the 18th. And so that means we'd have 2 weeks before we'd have another one. So,
Well, depending on what the February meeting looks like, we just spent our money. We might not have much to do anyways.
so if we want to leave,
Are you talking about moving it to April 1st?
Yeah, instead, that still gives.
oh, April 1st.
Yeah, April 1st, yeah, just,
April 1st, yeah.
and that way we still have 4 weeks until the next scheduled one, which is April 29th.
Okay,
April 22nd.
is our next meeting.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Would be,
It'd be 3 weeks.
but I understand what Derek is saying. I mean, if we move it to April 1st, then we get away from spring break, and if we do it before, some people leave early, but everybody's basically back at school on the 30th. So I propose that we take the March meeting and reschedule it to April 1st.
Got it.
I'm good with that.
Everybody all right with that?
One, so to ensure a quorum.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Good to me.
And then I'll ask one last follow-up question on the last one. So April 1st we'll meet, and we're scheduled for April 22nd for the normal one. Do you want to, because there is 5 weeks in April, do you want to take that one down to the 28th of April? So we meet April 1st, we meet April 28th, instead of April 1st and April 23rd, or 22nd.
I think you mean April 29th.
Yes, April 29th, sorry. As you're going.
I apologize. I should have filled it out for you so you're cheating.
Because then our next meeting, May 20th.
No matter to me.
I propose the 1st and the 29th for meetings in April.
March meeting will take place April 1st. Our April meeting will be moved to the 29th. Okay, so I will be sending out calendar invites in the next day or two for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, and amended 29th, the April 29th meeting.
Okay. Anything else under new business? Reports? Derek? Kevin?
I got nothing.
Brad? Anything after your first meeting? Mayor?
No, I have nothing.
Bill, the only thing I would add, I think everybody's probably seen the press releases and announcements, but obviously we have a new superintendent at the school corporation. So as that starts, her start date will be February 23rd. And as we start to bring her up to speed and on board, obviously, John, I know she's going to want to meet with you, and we'll get her.
I actually reached out to her.
Did you already have a conversation?
I haven't had a conversation. We've exchanged a couple of texts.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'll be bringing her up to speed on the relationship that we've had with this group and the opportunity that we've had to receive some of the funding. And so I just hope all of you have a chance to meet her later in the month.
Yeah, I'd like to be in that meeting as it pertains to other projects that I'm working on that impact the.
Yeah, happy to make the intro. Like I said, she'll be spending a few one-off days here and there in the month of February, but we'll really hit the ground running after the 23rd.
Okay. Okay.
Her official start date is the 23rd.
Official start date is the 23rd. She's just been having some kind of one-off conversations to start meeting people. And speaking of housing and everything, she's very anxious to move to Batesville, so her and her husband will be relocating, so.
Within the city limits, yes.
And since she's coming from New Pal, she's probably familiar with Joyner since they're in Hancock County, which is right up the road, so.
Yep. So are there any questions that you have of me as it pertains to the Economic Development Commission? Any updates that? Okay.
Beth, have anything? First meeting a blur or? Well, welcome. Carrie? John? Blaine?
We'll let you talk at the next one, Beth.
It's awful quiet down there without Melissa there.
That's what makes me nervous. No, that you're quiet. It means you're taking a lot in and not giving much.
A question, did the Sherman sell?
It has not been, I have not seen an official announcement. The training center has been sold.
The training center sold
The Baxter Training Center has been,
without our involvement.
correct,
So far.
so far.
Foot in the door was easy.
That was one of the conversations that the two of us had this morning.
Yeah. Hadn't you noticed the clock was
Sherman's a
The clock is
promising one.
working good.
Not saying there's
Back
anything
to
on
the
there.
future. All right. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Stay warm.
No, right.
Thank you.
Go through snow.